Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the March 5th, 2021 special board meeting of the Prince George's County Board of Education. Before we begin, I will ask everyone to turn off any wireless communications and mute your microphones to avoid any technical interference with the meeting. Also, we will be using Zoom Spanish interpretation services this evening. Board Member Shepherd, would you please make the announcement that Spanish interpretation is available for the meeting by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen?
Buenas noches. La interpretación en español está disponible para la reunión haciendo el clic en el icono del globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla.
Gracias. I just wanted to let everyone know that because Dr. Miller had a previous engagement, she will not be able to join us this evening, so I will be chairing this meeting. We will be meeting this evening solely to consider the Policy and Governance Committee's recommendation regarding positions on legislation as outlined in the committee's memorandum posted on Board Docs. Ms. Berkeley, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Adams Stafford.
Here.
Mrs. Emmett.
Here.
Ms. Boozer Strother.
Here.
Mr. Burrows.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Ms. Jackson. Mr. Montero.
Here.
Mr. Murray. Mrs. Queen.
Present.
Mrs. Shepherd.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Valentine.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Present.
Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Berkeley. And thank you to the board members for coming out and spending your Friday evening with us. This shows that we are very committed to the work of the school system, and I appreciate you all showing up tonight. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. As presented, the committee's recommendation is to support 5 bills, oppose Bill SB 665 / House Bill 715, and to write a letter opposing the Maglev project. Given that one of the recommendations pertains to SROs, which was a topic of a previous board meeting, and there is a recommendation regarding Maglev, which is not a legislation, I'm asking to substitute the motion that the board approves the committee recommendation for HB 109, expansion of mental health services and prohibition of the school SRO program, and the letter regarding the Maglev, so that those matters can be discussed separately. So we're just going to pull those two separately, and we're going to focus on the first 3, and then we'll talk about those separately. Can I get a second for that motion to pull those out separately?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, a point of clarification. I don't think you need a vote
You
on
don't think I need a
separate
second?
item, but
Oh, okay.
it's
Thank you.
my
Okay, so we're just going to pull those out separately. So let's move on. So the first 3 that we're going to consider, and I'd like to have a motion to take, sorry.
Madam Chair, if you would like, I can make a motion on behalf of the committee for all of the other items.
Correct. Yep,
Okay.
I was just so lost on my paperwork. So
That's
I'm going to turn the floor over to Board Member Ahmed to introduce the 3 legislative pieces for consideration.
Colleagues, the Policy and Governance Committee met virtually on February 17th, 2021, with the following members in attendance: myself as committee chair, Mr. Thomas as vice chair, and board members Boozer, Struther, Burrows, and Jackson. During the meeting, we considered the following bills. I'm only going to mention the ones that have not been pulled out by the vice chair. The ones that the committee voted to recommend that the Board of Education support include: number 1, correctional services, immigration detention, prohibition, the Dignity Not Detention Act, that's Senate Bill 478 and House Bill 16. Number 2, primary and secondary education, the expansion of mental health services and prohibition. Oh, sorry, that's the one that we're not doing at this time. Number 3, public school student attendance, excused absences for mental health needs. That's HB 461. Number 4, early childhood education, child care provider support grant program, the Child Care Provider Support Act. That's SB 890/House Bill 608. Those are the 3 that the committee recommended approval on. And there's one that the committee recommended opposition to, and that's public schools, self-contained special education classrooms, use of video recording devices, which was Senate Bill 665, House Bill 715. So those are the 3 for approval, the 1 for opposition. The other 2 items that will not be on are a position on the Police Free Schools Act and a position on the MagLiv.
Thank you, Board Member Ahmed. Since this is a recommendation of the committee, a second is not necessary. Is there any discussion on those 3 bills?
A point of clarification, Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
it's 4. It's 3 for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and 1 for opposing.
I'm all lost with the count. So thank you. 3 that we are supporting and 1 that we're opposing. Is there any discussion?
This is Woman Valentine. I was going to ask where the grant money was going to come from, but it does seem like it's here asking the governor to fund it out of the budget and then thereafter. And so just that being known, I would support it. But for me, it was around just the source of the funding and hopefully it did not supplant anything that we were going to have coming to the county already. So I saw that, just wanted to bring that to anyone else's attention who may have had a similar question about the source of income for that grant.
Thank you, Board Member Valentine. Any other discussions? Ms. Boozer Struther?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to acknowledge student member of the board, Ms. Nina Jackson, for that. PGCPS is actually a step ahead on excused absences for mental health days. And I don't see her with us this evening, but I just wanted to call that out, that we are ahead of this legislation. And I know our entire committee is proud of that we've been moving that along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Boozer Struther. I don't see any other hands up. Ms. Berkeley, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Adams Stafford,
Aye.
Mrs. Ammett,
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Struther,
Aye.
Mr. Burrows,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Montero,
Yes.
Mrs. Queen,
Aye.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
You were on silent.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mr. Valentine.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mrs. Williams.
Aye.
11 ayes, 3 absent.
Thank you. Next up is the primary and secondary expansion of mental health services and prohibition of school resource officers, Police Free Schools Act. Board Member Ahmed, can you introduce that item, please?
Sure, thank you. The policy and I move on behalf of the Policy and Governance Committee a recommended position of support from this board on primary and secondary education, expansion of mental health services, and prohibition of school resource officers, the Police Free Schools Act, which is HB 1089, from Delegate Acevedo.
Thank you, Board Member Ahmed. Since this is a committee recommendation, a second isn't needed. Are there any comments or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Berkeley, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Adam Stafford.
Aye.
Mrs. Ahmed.
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Strother.
No.
Mr. Burrows.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Montero.
No.
Mr. Murray. Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Queen.
Aye.
Mrs. Shepherd.
No.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Mr. Valentine.
No.
Mrs. Williams.
No.
6 ayes. 5 nays, 3 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Berkeley.
Uh-oh, wait a minute.
Does that go down as
Yeah.
a no comment, or how do you proceed with that?
I'm going to have to defer to Council Thomas to, I would just like an explanation on what it is we just voted on. From what I understand, we're voting on whether or not we're supporting or not supporting this piece of legislation. What is the next step based on the 6 yes votes and 5 no votes? What happens next?
You are muted.
The board did not have an affirmative majority vote to pass the motion before you, and that was to accept the committee's recommendation on that piece of legislation. So with that said, the board would either be taking no position on it, or the board can certainly, consider a second motion to take a position in opposition. And I'm sure Ms. Ahmed would want to provide further commentary from the committee on that.
Ms. Ahmed?
Yes, the committee did vote in support of this, this bill. I think what I've seen in the past is that if there's not a vote of support for a particular bill, then there's just no action that we would take for that. A position, my understanding, and Ms. White might be able to verify this, is that if we to have a position of no position, even that would require a vote of the board to send forward a position of no position. I think at this point, if the vote has been made and done, that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Mr. Burrows?
Yeah, we're just going to concur. If the board is not opposing it or supporting it, we have no position. There are not enough votes to swing in either direction. So we should probably just move on to the next bill.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is not a piece of legislation. It is a request for us to provide a letter with our opinion on some activity that is occurring in our county and in Montgomery County. I believe it's all throughout the state. But with that said, I would like to open the floor up to Ms. Ahmed and then Mr. Joshua Thomas, Board Member Joshua Thomas and Board Member Ahmed, to introduce this item.
Sure, Madam Vice Chair. I can begin and then Mr. Thomas can follow up. At our committee meeting, we reviewed the impacts that the Baltimore-Washington superconducting maglev project would have on PGCPS. And staff informed us that there is no final route for construction on the project, but it was noted that the project might cause construction under several school buildings. Those buildings include Bladensburg and Eleanor Roosevelt High Schools, Beacon Heights, Lamont, Montpelier, Port Towns, and Roger Heights Elementary Schools. And so we discussed this as a committee, and we voted to recommend to the full board that it write a letter outlining its opposition to the maglev project. And so on behalf of the committee, I move as such. Just one other piece of this is a part of the conversation. This type of a letter would help and support the board advocate on whatever level is needed for maglev, whether it's required, if there's something being considered at the county level, whether there's something being considered at the state level, or even if a city government is considering it. And so that's kind of the mindset here, as opposed to a particular position on a specific piece of legislation, because there is no specific piece of legislation. And in fact, there are multiple bodies of governments that are talking about this now and have been talking about it in the past.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Board Member Thomas?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Vice Chair, and thanks, Ms. Ahmed, for kind of introducing that. Yeah, she kind of covered it pretty well, but to put it simply, this construction will have significant impacts as it currently stands on many of the schools that are within our county. They will mostly be on the northern side, and they will probably be affecting primarily District 2, which I represent, some schools in Ms. Boozer-Struthers district, as well as Mr. Murray's district. And it's to be seen how severe these impacts will have, but there's just a whole lot that could potentially go wrong and could negatively impact our students. I know that with this slated to be constructed underneath actual school buildings, what does that really mean? How will that impact our students? Will that mean that those buildings will no longer be able to be used during that time? Obviously, this opens up a Pandora's box of questions, and ultimately is not something that I think is in the best interest of our students and of our school community. So unless any of you are very strongly in support of high-speed transportation from Washington to Baltimore, I hope that colleagues on this board will stand with me in supporting creating a letter that is strongly opposed to the current construction of this as it currently stands.
Thank you, Board Member Thomas. Board Member Valentine?
I'm curious, Board Member Thomas, in this letter, I imagine a bunch of questions and some opposition clearly to the impact it would have on the school, but is there opposition to the entire project, or just as it impacts our school system? And if there's a letter that's written particularly as it relates to our schools versus opposition to the entire project, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of deferential to folks in that part of the county because of the impact it's going to have. And as you were elected board member there, I received that. I just want to be mindful, but I'm also just curious about the precedent it sets in us opposing a particular project versus saying, as members of the Board of Education, it's our responsibility to ensure a level of safety, security, sustainability, whatever you want to call it, of our schools, our buildings, and our staff. And so we would oppose anything that would have a disproportionate impact on our system without any similar reciprocity, recuperation, anything else that would go into this project. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm saying a lot, but I'm just curious. This is something that I understand, but I'm also wondering if we can be specific in the letter.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. May I respond?
Yeah.
Go ahead. The question, which is like, are we opposed to are we in our letter opposing the project completely, as opposed to just specifically opposing the impacts that it could have on our system and asking for them to then reconsider that? My understanding is, this letter has not been drafted at this moment. And so I'm just reviewing again what we as a committee did send to, specifically Ms. Ahmed did note in her letter. And so my understanding is that we would be completely opposing this project. there are, of course, severe implications for our school system, even for community members that are don't have students in school buildings. There seems to be a general opposition to this project throughout the northern side of the county. To be honest, I have not met anyone yet that is pro this construction project. So I don't have any reservations about the fact that this letter is just going to be strongly opposing the project as a whole. And so that is my understanding of what the letter would be.
Thank you, Board Member Thomas. Board Member Queen?
Thank you so very much, Madam Vice Chair. I just want to be say that I am definitely in agreement with Mr. Thomas is saying. I've sat on a couple of meetings when MATLIS first came out, and it is no benefit to our county. It is a lot of our residents that are against it. The fact that it is going from underground is not even going to stop in Prince George's County is no benefits for Prince George's County. It's no benefits for our students or the of none of us who live in Prince George's County. It will stop in DC and go straight to Baltimore. We get no discounts by MATLIS being here, but all we do is get underground shaking of our houses and our school and reconstruction of our land. So it is a strong project that we do need to support and be in opposition of this. The inconvenience, we don't know. I mean, you guys know a lot of our schools have been around for years. We don't know what's underground right now, and everything is so shaky. We don't need underground trains making it even worse, shaking up more asbestos and other stuff that could be disturbed. And we get nothing from MATLIS being here, no type of discounts for the train that's not even gonna stop in our area. And so I just got to say, it's really not a project the school system really needs to support. And that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Board Member Queen. Not seeing any other questions or comments, hands up. I just like to add my 2 cents. I want to say it's 5 cents because this is what I do every day, build stuff. I'm always against opposing a project because it is innovation. It is taking us to the next place in time and the ability to move people. If there is something that we don't like or we feel uncomfortable, we have to understand those details, like how deep will they be going into the ground? What kind of tunnel will this MegLab be in that, and I'm quite sure the engineers have considered the vibration that could come from, something going underground. And so I would highly suggest that we speak in terms of having the ability to be able to understand and know more and have comments and concerns, have them do tests and provide actual data on what they're doing so that we understand whether or not we will be opposing, vibration, or will there be an issue with the buildings that they're running under. And if I understand correctly, the route isn't final. We have the ability to say you need to reroute this in another direction that's not under our schools. We have that ability. That is why we're in this conversation, because they're going under us. So I would highly suggest that if we decide to write a letter, that we write a letter that we want to be involved. And with that, we could possibly ask for some things, versus saying, no, don't come. Because we know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and that's what the engineers did. And if we say you have to make a curve or go around something, this project is so important that they will accommodate our requests in some way, shape, or form, or give us information, or, help us to understand what is going to happen and what is the anticipated effects. And from what I understand, that this is going to take some time. And if we continue to move the direction that we're moving with changing our, turning over our old infrastructure in the buildings, we can possibly ask for some support to make sure that we don't, have any of that vibration or concerns or issues like that. So whatever we decide, I think that we should be a little open to being a part of the conversation versus stopping the actual construction. That is just my 2 cents. Board Member Ahmed?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, before we go into vote, I wanted to reiterate um, the committee's recommendation. The
Mhm.
committee voted to recommend to the full Board of Education that it write a letter outlining its opposition to the maglev project.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that we're talking about points that we will write that we oppose, not necessarily shutting it down. Is that what you're saying?
That was the recommendation of the committee to write a
Okay.
letter outlining the opposition to the maglev project.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Adams, Board Member Adam Stafford?
Yes, I just wanted to state that I think that it is important for us to know more about the project and its impact, not only in regards to building infrastructure, but also in terms of its impact on the environment. I think that there has been a lot of research about the way that maglev trains could potentially emit radiation that could be harmful. And if these are going to be underneath of schools, I mean, we really need to think very strongly about how this could impact the environment and students. And so those are just the points that I wanted to make.
Thank you, Board Member Adam Stafford. Board Member Thomas?
Yeah, I imagine we are probably going to call the roll in a moment. I don't see we have a chat feature. But I just know that there are so many people in my community who are so strongly against the construction of the train. I do understand the innovative nature behind it, but there is a website that is called stopthistrain.org. Obviously, it is going to present strong arguments against it. I would put it in the chat if I could, but I don't see that option. I encourage.
We'll get it added to the notes, okay?
Yeah, and I just wanted to encourage any colleagues who are, maybe reconsidering or not sure how you might want to vote on this. This does lay out a lot of really important questions and concerns that I know to date, I guess, have not been answered by the officials behind this project. And then as Board Member Queen stated, there would be no passenger stations in Prince George's County. So I think that that's also like really important for us to note. I highly doubt that they would change their course on that. So this is something that would literally have to tear up underneath our ground, go directly past us, and then go to the next city over. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for folks. Again, stopthistrain.org. And then there's a link to questions at the top that has a bunch of FAQs. So I just want to note that. I know for some folks, this might be one of the first times you're engaging with this topic, but if you walk around my district, you will see "Stop the Maglev" signs on every yard all over the place. So I know my constituents would be not happy if I did not mention how strongly my district is opposed to this. That's all.
Thank you, Board Member Thomas. Board Member Boozer Strother?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just have to add that I want to say the communities impacted directly are united in opposition. I feel very comfortable with my opposition, and this train will go under Bladensburg, and it is actually next door in District 4 to District 3 school board area. But the communities impacted are students, there are parents. The signs in the yards represent the PGCPS community, and this is something that I think is uniting our county right now, and in particular these areas. And I feel I just want to say I feel very confident in an opposition vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Boozer Strother. Board Member Queen, round two.
Yes, this will be my final word round two. But I just want to say, you guys always hear me say it, because it was in my area, would have been the Family Heights, and because they found there was historic ground, they were able to move it. And so now it's in Bladensburg, but I have a reason to be concerned also, even as a board member. I'm a board member of Prince George's County. So whether it's in District 6, District 4, District 1, District 7, I need to care about my constituent. And I need to be concerned when people are in opposite or something, because it may not be in District 6 right now, but it could have been. In the same way they need my support and my vote as a board member, I would hope that you guys would do the same for me. So I will be supporting and voting against this, because I know in the district that is going in Bladensburg, if something was happening in Capitol Heights and the Bowie Lago area, I would expect their support also. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Queen. Seeing no other comments, I am all for, writing a letter. I'm always concerned when people oppose construction, or development. So I always have to share that, let's provide alternatives. But I think that Ms. Ahmed clarified that we will be writing those points of opposition, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that because we haven't discussed that. Our thing is trying to get a train over to the Virginia side, or a train over to Virginia. That's our discussion over here. So, so definitely let's, I think we're ready to take the vote. I don't see any other hands up. So Ms. Berkeley, would you please call the roll?
Can I take the confirmation? A yes is in favor of the letter, correct?
A yes is in favor of the letter, correct?
Mrs. Adam Stafford,
Yes.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Yes.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
Yes.
Mr. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Montero,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mrs. Queen,
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Williams.
Yes. Unanimous?
Yes. 2 absent.
So can I ask that Ms. Ahmed and Mr. Thomas provide us with a draft, and maybe we can run it by CIP for any of those pertinent points that, we can speak to engineers in engineering terms so that we can be clear on the opposition, and then we'll get it, put on the board letterhead showing that we unanimously support the oppositions that are posted in that letter. Okay?
Madam Vice Chair, I think it's fine. I would ask and solicit the support of board staff that were at the meeting, the policy and governance meeting, to help us in drafting that and making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to the vote of this board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just keep us informed as to how long you think it might take for us to move this through. Okay, Ms. Ahmed? And we'll get this moving forward. Since no one took me up on any votes, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. I could have won some money. We're only 36 minutes in.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
thank you. You all enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Hold up. We got to vote now.
It's a vote.
No, we don't. I want to sit here and talk to y'all. So no, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed?
Have a great weekend, each and every one of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.